It's a guide for women to help them to recover from any form of problematic relationships with food and how they view their bodies. Over the last 15 years, I've collected what works for women with this issue, and this is basically, I've just laid it out in a book, and I'm showing that these are the tools I use with all of my clients when they come to me for individual sessions and when I do workshops and groups with women. So this is the tried and true formula. I wrote this book because I've struggled with an eating disorder. I nearly died of one myself in my teens and my early 20s. And I have recovered for the most part. And recovery is possible. And it's not as hard as people may think.
Who is your target audience for the book?
I found out that 80 to 90% of women dislike the size and shape of their bodies. And 1 out of 2 women fear becoming fat more than they fear dying. So my target audience is all of those women, which unfortunately is the majority of us. I often ask people to write out a pie chart and say how much of your day is taken up thinking about food and how you look. And most women say about 95%. To me, that's disordered eating in reality. It's when food and body image overtake everything else in our lives. And even though we can function and we're still going to work and raising families and being at home, we're obsessed with what we're going to eat, when we're going to eat it, how we're going to eat it, if it's too much, if it's too little, and how we look before and after we exercise. Have we exercised today? Have we exercised enough? All of those concerns are just paramount. I believe we live in a disordered eating society. I believe that our society in general is very screwed up around food and how we look. I mean, it's a very shallow focus. As a psychotherapist, I find that women, I say they live from the neck up in terms of being, that they're cut off from their bodies. It's like they're not associating very much with their body. And these are women with food and body image issues. It's almost like the body has become their enemy, and they're trying to beat it into submission through starvation, through vigorous exercise, all of these regimens that they try, and there's not much love or appreciation or acceptance for the body that they have. In reality, only 3% of women are actually born genetically to be thin. That, the tall, skinny model that we see, that is the current fashion ideal and beauty ideal, is very rare. That's 3% of women are actually born looking like that. So 97% of us are not genetically predisposed to look that way, and we're trying to fit into that body, and it doesn't work. The new F word is fat. Fat has become the swear word of the age, I would say. Anything associated with fat is considered evil and ugly and bad and wrong. Dieting is at the root of all of women's dysfunctional relationships with food and body image. I find that dieting is crippling to society as a whole, I believe, and it's making people very, very sick, and it leads to disordered eating.
Is it all about men?
No, research has shown that the majority of heterosexual men really appreciate women that are bigger than the average model, much bigger. And they like women that look womanly, right? That have curves and breasts and hips and bellies and buttocks. That's what they like. They like women that look like women.
So if it's not about men, who is doing this to women?
The fashion industry, the media, I think is the major culprit. I mean, basically, thinness sells. It sells clothes, it sells perfumes and products, it sells makeup, it sells all sorts of things that women spend billions of dollars on.
So what makes your book unique?
What makes my book unique is that I have the personal experience and the professional experience. So I have 15 years of professional experience being a psychotherapist for women who struggle with food and body image. And then I have 37 years of being a woman who struggled with food and body image issues and has recovered.
Who needs this book?
Women who obsess to a great extent about their bodies and how they look, they need this book.